Okay, it's good afternoon. It's great to have you all here. The future of the wireless industry is directly being impacted about what we are doing right here. And it's not just creating jobs in Syracuse and establishing this country as an American 5G hub. It has far-reaching implications for our economic security and national security. And I will share more on this shortly. But first, I'd like to introduce our distinguished guest. We are honored to have our governor here, and while we have come to expect our public servants at events such as this, Governor Hochul is different. She visited us first in 2015, her first year in office, at our place in Liverpool. She came a few years later in 2018, where we spent a long period of time over dinner, a conversation about what our industry was all about, what we were planning to do, and then what it meant for New York State. And then again in the spring of 2021, about 15 months ago, she walked this site. We were still in heavy construction. She was traipsing around in the mud, we all were, and we were picking up our conversation where we left off. So welcoming her today may seem somewhat ceremonial, like a ribbon cutting, which I suppose it is, with the governor of the highest profile state in the country, but it's much more. This is really all the introduction that our governor needs. It tells you who she really is. She's from upstate New York. As an SU graduate, she bleeds orange. She's here not because we are the only U.S.-owned 5G factory in the country. She's here because she cares about this region and has taken a serious interest in rebuilding upstate and what economic revitalization really means. This should not be taken lightly. The gravity of New York City constantly pulls attention away from upstate, but not in the Hochul era. So it's great to have you back home. And it is now my pleasure to turn over the podium to the 57th Governor of New York State and the first woman to occupy that position, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. How sweet it is. It is like a homecoming, and it was a little rougher last time I was here, John, and kind of scared. We went to the top of the building and looked over. It's like, whoa, this is, for someone who doesn't really love heights, this is a little bit of a challenge, but I embraced it. And I just want to thank you for having the vision to invest in this neighborhood that was crying out for help. And you answered that call by bringing hundreds of great jobs right here. So, John, thank you for, and visionary is the word, because you never gave up on this community. I guarantee you are enticed to go all over this country, because those governors out there are pretty aggressive. But we're very happy that you stayed, the birthplace of this great business, and we're really, really proud. So thank you for having us be here today. Also really proud to be joined by so many extraordinary elected officials who I've come to know and love. Spent a lot of time in this area. I find a lot of excuses to come back here. And first of all, County Executive Ryan McMahon, we have been working very closely on a very big project, and so we'll just leave it at that. But things are getting really good. Things are feeling kind of green these days. So we're real excited about that. And again, also our mayor, we've walked the streets so many times, in good times and bad. And I came back here often during the pandemic to just see how we are surviving, how our little businesses are doing. And you know, you've always had such a good heart in fighting for the people that you represent, so thank you. Also, we have great leaders in Albany from this area, people I've developed good friends, great friendships with, and I want to welcome Senator Rachel May, thank her for joining us here today. Rachel May. Selling member Pam Hunter is here. Great to see you, Pam. We've walked your district as well. Nice little nightlife area there. It's a lot better than it was when I was in college. We didn't have anywhere to go. Your area is tremendous. And John Mannion, I want to thank him for journeying to New York City just a day or two ago in your capacity as chair on the Committee committee dealing with disabilities and signing some really significant legislation that you drafted to lift up the community on the 32nd anniversary of the enactment of the American with Disabilities Act, so thank you as well. Senator Bill Magnarelli, we've worked together a long time as well, and we so appreciate not just seniority, because that makes it sound like we're old, but also the wisdom and the depth of experience you bring to this as well. Bill, I had to take a little shot, because I'm probably older than you are, I don't know. Assemblyman Al Sturpey, too, we have met many times, and you have a lot of heart and passion and a fighting spirit for your district as well, so thank you. We also, and I had a chance to come here often as Lieutenant Governor over 8 years, because I was the chair of the Regional Economic Development Councils, and they're really, huge supporters of this project. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes, but leadership there matters as well, and I want to thank Linda DeMuria, the president of Lemoyne College, but also somehow you find the time to also co-chair the Regional Economic Development Council, and Randy Wolkin. We had many conversations over the years to talk about MACNY and all the work that you're doing to really elevate manufacturing and make it, we talk about this, and I also want to give a shout out to Randy too. Long before people were talking about needing childcare in workplaces, we spoke about this, and we've now made that one of the cornerstones of our work. And when we talk about where the money is going to go, and we have some discretion, based on what the local community wants, we're talking to businesses about, well, tell us about your child care plans first. Are you putting in a facility? Are you going to make it easier for your workers to have flexible hours? What are you doing to help address the needs of families? Because it is no longer just one family's problem, it is an economic problem for society. So you've been a great visionary there as well, so thank you. I was going to talk about all my times visiting here, but John covered that very nicely, and I just was actually here in the fall. I will note, though, when I spoke at the commencement, the overdue 2020 Syracuse University commencement, and it was a wonderful homecoming for people who had been denied the privilege. The place I was in had a different name. It wasn't called the JMA Arena, so things have changed since I was last here. But thank you for also investing in my alma mater in that way, and I won't go into the whole story of how I fought against Carrier a long time ago. I think you all know the story. But I'm really, really proud that we do have the Ernie Davis Field, and we also have your name of this company that really sends a message. I mean, we think about vision and the future and future jobs and technology. To have that associated in such a profound way at the university really makes a difference. So thank you for doing that as well. This is extraordinary, 120,000 square feet. And this manufacturing campus, and I love the word manufacturing, I really do, because it means we're back to our roots. We've always built with our hands. We've always built with our minds and our intellect, and that's why the Erie Canal communities thrive for such a long time. I'm at the other end of it, from Buffalo, but New York City would not be New York City without the Erie Canal, and it came right through here. And in the process, communities got their origins, but also such manufacturing facilities were built along there that it's really in our DNA, particularly as upstaters, to just make and create. So having a manufacturing, a state-of-the-kind 5G facility really is just extraordinary how you're going to be making radios and antennas and millimeter wave products. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds really cool, John. So it also, making it in America. I mean, this defies what has happened globally for the last many decades, where we've not leaned into our innovation and our manufacturing capabilities and our workforce. We've not done that because those jobs and those ideas all went overseas. No more. And I do believe that your statement here, John, doing this at home, is going to send a message to others that when you're all dealing with your supply chain issues because you want to buy everything abroad, don't complain to us, because we're going to make these right here, not just in America, but in New York State. And I want other companies to see that. I want other companies to see that this is a rebirth of manufacturing, a rebirth of upstate manufacturing. So this is even bigger than the jobs created here. Making it here in New York is a huge point of pride for us, and a $100 million project does not come along every day. But I do believe after this, it will be far more commonplace when others say, I can have a great quality of life living up here. I mean, the access to the Adirondacks and the lakes and the beautiful, it's just, the winery's not far from here, the attraction, why are you laughing at the wineries? Somebody has to taste the product. I do give out the governor's wine cup every year. I gotta know my product. So it's just, what we have here is incredible. You know, the tiny little communities, the vibrant cities, and so I do believe that there is a rebirth and a reorientation toward places like upstate after the pandemic, because so many people found a haven here in upstate New York. And so we're going to continue supporting the businesses, the communities, and putting our money where our mouths are. Over $5 million of state support, thank you REDC, as part of the Upstate Revitalization Grant. This is exactly what we're talking about. We have more to do, more supportive products like this, but this really does talk about a comeback. And this site, once coined textile, you know, a laundry facility for 86 years. You know, they go bankrupt, all of a sudden, you know, 90 people are out of work, and you have really a building that just kind of hauntingly reminds people of a better past. Now when people go by, no, they'll be excited, they'll be energized, and people in this very community can come by here and say, I can get trained, I can get a job all the way up, entry level up to advanced engineering. These are all happening right here. So the South Side neighborhood, which has had enough blows over the years, is now realizing that they matter. A business like this, an investment here of this scale, says to this community, you matter. The people who live here matter. And that is profound. That is why I'm so excited about this project. When you decided to go in this community, John, that was transformative. So it's over 200 jobs, and I just want to say how proud I am of what you're doing here. You have over 500 people working in this area, and we're just getting started, though. As I go downtown, and I see the Hotel Syracuse that was shuttered not long after I graduated for a long time. Again, another reminder of a glorious past. Now it's just a spectacular building. And the Salt City Market, how are they doing? I haven't been there, but they doing okay? Okay, I mean, I love the Salt City Market. What an ingenious conception to bring in people who, you know, they're just trying, they got their own little skills, they like to make a certain kind of food, but they don't have the ability to pull it all together and the support for the rent and all these staffing they can do and the training. I think it's ingenious, and every city should have something modeled after what you have here. I love it. Selena First, minority-led development in Syracuse investments. You know, we're supporting them with NYSERDA funding. Spaces right out here, the Tech Garden. We walked through the Tech Garden last time I was here. The Excelis building, the Post-Standard building. So many things are going on here. And we're going to continue supporting it. And I know our job, you know, because I was in local government for a long time. We always said, why doesn't Albany give us the money? We're giving you the money. You give us the vision, we'll fund it. And that's my commitment to you as well. So I look forward to many more ways that we can showcase the glory of upstate New York, what we have here, the uniqueness. And I truly do love this community, and I love the people in this room who never gave up through some tough times. You stuck with us. You always said there can be a better day for our people tomorrow. So I do want to thank all of you. I'm going to change the program a little bit because as we saw lightning out there, I have to fly. And not that I would mind being stuck in Syracuse for a long time. Is the varsity still there? All right. You know, I worked at the varsity, okay, and I had a really important job that I'll describe. It was, and this will say how old I am, but you can look it up on Wikipedia anyhow. 1980 Winter Olympics, U.S. versus Russia. Remember the big hockey game? Yeah. My job was to call out the numbers at the varsity pizzeria, like, number 20, your pizza's now ready. I haven't lost my skills. So what I did when I was there, because the game was going on while I had to work, I was giving the play-by-play of what was going on. So I felt like maybe I had a career in being a radio announcer and, you know, calling for. That never worked out that well. But I have such great memories of this community. I really got my start and my passion for public service on a campus not far from here, and I'll never forget that, or the people who launched me to become the governor of the state of New York. So thank you, everyone, and let's cut the ribbon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium County Executive Ryan McMahon.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank our governor for taking time out of her schedule to be here. I do want to acknowledge some of our county partners that we have here with us today. We have County Comptroller Marty Masterpole with us today. We have County Legislator Chris Ryan, County Legislator Linda Irvin, County Legislator Peggy Chase, County Legislator Mary Kuhn, and County Legislator Charles Garland. So I want to acknowledge our partners at the county level. I want to thank our partners. I want to thank our partners at the state level, obviously at the city, all of our higher ed partners. And I want to congratulate JMA, the JMA family, the employees, and specifically John. For those of you who know the history of this company, it's an amazing history. But for those of you who don't know the history of the process here, it really was quite a process. John and his team had the ability to do this today in Texas. And John came and met with me and the mayor and talked about the opportunities here. And we sold him pretty hard on doing this in New York, in his hometown. And then John and his team had the ability to do this project right here in Liverpool, in Clay. But John chose to do it right here in the south side of the city of Syracuse to reinvest millions of dollars in a high-tech manufacturing hub that is going to solve problems for our community, our country, and our national security. And that is simply amazing. And that intentionality in public service, we can all learn from that. Because when we're intentional together and we work together, we achieve great things. And John, I believe the history of this, and this model of what you've done, we sell this story to everybody we talk to. And that story is something that is catching on to others. And when history looks at what we're doing in this community, it's going to look at you as being the pioneer from the private sector for doing that. So I just want to thank you personally for what you've done for this community. So when we met in my office, and we took John into my office, and the mayor and I looked out my window, and we looked down this way, and the mayor and I pointed out all of the momentum happening down Salina Street, all of the momentum happening with the STEAM School, the Hotel Syracuse, the Salt City Market, the Tech Garden expansion. And the mayor talked about the Syracuse Surge strategy. And at this time, I want to bring up my partner, the architect of the Syracuse Surge, Mayor Ben Walsh.
Thanks so much to the county executive. He's been a great friend, a great partner, and I think I can speak for him and many others in this room when I say that we're just getting warmed up. Seriously, you heard from the governor and from the county executive some of the projects that are in the pipeline, and by no means did we cover everything. County executive mentioned the Syracuse Surge. Just within a few block radius of here, you heard of some of the projects closer to downtown, but even closer. You see steel going up right now for the Syracuse Community Health Center expansion. Across the street, Salina First, led by a black-owned construction and development team. Existing individuals and businesses right here on the south side. We are New York State's flagship smart city, a designation that the governor's office gave to Syracuse. And we are accelerating our progress on the smart cities front, grounded by our smart streetlight network. Again, there's so many others that I could mention. Certainly, we could not do it without Governor Hochul. All of the projects that we mentioned, literally all of them, have been supported by the state of New York and by Governor Hochul and her team. We could not do this without her. Certainly could not do the work without the county executive and his team, our partners in Albany, As an executive, I very much appreciate the importance of the legislature. While we often get to get up here and take credit, these investments wouldn't be made without certainly our partners in the state legislature. So thank you to our state representatives for representing us so well. Our county partners, as well as the county executive mentioned, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my partners in city government. We have Councilor Jen Schultz here. We have Councilor Amir Gethers here. Do we have another counselor here? I couldn't see Assemblyman, you got to move your head. One of our great partners in city government, Common Councilor at Large, Rashida Caldwell, and of course our Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens, who's also with us every step of the way. It's a great team, and again, we really feel like we're just getting warmed up. So I'm going to finish by turning it over to John Mezzalingua. Again, John, thank you for everything that you've done for this facility, for this community, for this neighborhood. I see your family here, as they always are, and I know you couldn't do it without your family, so thank you to the Mezzalingua family. And as the county executive stated, that Mezzalingua family extends beyond the inner circle and is represented all around us, including down on the production floor there. So thank you again, John. Let's give it up for John Mezzalingua to bring it home.
You know, a project like this, we actually hosted some people from the national legislature, Senator Schumer and our Commerce Secretary. So we've actually had a couple of openings. So Ryan and Ben, we're actually getting pretty good at this. This is like our third opening. But we have, this has truly been a partnership. I mean, we have every step of the way worked very well together, and I deeply appreciate it. It doesn't happen this way. Little things can become big things, and I appreciate it very much, so thank you. We were going through, as we were thinking about manufacturing in Syracuse, there was a report 20 years ago by some D.C. think tank that offered a pretty bleak outlook on the state of manufacturing in this country, and in particular in Syracuse. And their quote was, "It would be difficult to offer any optimistic assessment of the prospects for manufacturing in Syracuse." And fortunately, I was taught relatively early on not to put too much stock in experts and conventional wisdom. And we're standing here today because, you know, as a company, we're pretty comfortable thinking differently, and it's usually, even if it's unpopular, which I would say it usually is. And standing here, though, is proof that Syracuse is a great place to build. This is the first building in our 5G manufacturing campus, and what you're going to see behind us here is the factory of the future. But this has always been more than all of the jobs that we're going to create. It's about establishing America as a leader in wireless. Today, there are 6 companies on the planet who have invested their own money to own their own critical technology. All of them are outside the U.S., and 2 of them are Chinese, except JMA. And among all of those, only one of us has a critical technology in software, and that's, of course, the company that you are standing in today. This is how you take industry leadership, because in order to change the game, you have to control your destiny by owning your own technology. And it's not just that way for companies, it's that way for countries as well. With supply chain problems and cyber threats and foreign competition, designing and building 5G products in this country means that we rely on ourselves. It makes us safer and more secure. And I think other countries in the world will want to rely on a U.S. company, and in particular, a U.S. company with no ties to China, so they can trust their communication systems. And we are now today in a position to make 5G our greatest export. Now, the same negative outlook that I mentioned in this report on manufacturing goes on in our industry. They accept the current way of doing things as the only way. What people don't know is that technology powering wireless networks are in a replacement cycle that's like a treadmill that you can never get off of. Every network today operates that way because the technology is static. It quickly becomes like yesterday's newspaper. And that might be fine for certain items, but that doesn't work with wireless networks, and it certainly doesn't work for 5G. They cannot be stuck in time. By definition, it is an evolving, cutting-edge standard. They need to be always current to be able to do the latest things as they become available, when they become available. So our idea of a wireless network is simple, but it's revolutionary. You install a network once over 10 years, minimum. And for the life of that network, it's always current with the latest technology. That sounds like it ought to be common sense. But when you look at other examples in other industries, there are things that ought to be common sense that aren't. It wasn't that long ago that we took for granted that when rockets are launched, they just go to the sea and you start over again. No one thought about the idea that you could land them and then reuse them, and then you change the economics of that industry. In that same way, no one actually thought that you could actually install a network once in any building or campus or hospital, anywhere, and have it always be current. And so instead of it slowly getting worse with time, it actually gets better with time. When you pair this advantage with the power of 5G, which we really haven't seen yet, it changes the way industries operate. Keeping pace is not just for the wealthiest companies. It becomes now affordable for everyone. But everybody always underestimates how much technology changes. I don't know if many realize in the, let's say, restaurant industry, if you were to start one today, you are advised, if you have a consultant who will advise on these things, that you should not accept cash. They'll talk to you about all of the negatives about that, and that use your smartphones for the payment history. So whether we appreciate it, because it's a little like the water that boils the frog quite slowly, we don't always perceive it, but it is happening, and we have to keep pace. And for this reason, because we have this key and critical technology, because it is in the U.S., you can see why we're bullish on the future. This building is really just the start. As I'd mentioned, it's the first of many other such structures. We designed this campus for growth, and when it's going to be all done in this phase, it'll bring this whole city block to life. And as I said, we are not stopping there, because this is an industry that is just at the very early stages here. So that report that I opened with mentioned by saying, quote, "There is little to be done to arrest the decline of manufacturing in Syracuse," end quote. I looked up that consultant. It's a very smart person, highly educated. And we have a need for a lot of people. I can safely say that that person would not be a candidate for any job here at JMA. And I suspect that that type of thinking would not be welcome in the city or the county executive's office or Governor Hochul's administration. So I appreciate and thank you all for being here, and most importantly, thank you for sharing the same belief of how we view the future. Thank you.